Welcome to the world united. Welcome to the world united.
So here we have now our next speaker is Air Torrado. Air Torrado is a Filipina and a multi-dimensional healing artist whose medicine blends the use of body, voice, ritual, and storytelling. She is also the founder of Deloy Movement, a guided and durational free-form healing dance practice originated and developed in the Philippines that many people find liberating, transformative, and healing. With 17 years of professional teaching experience, coupled with Alliance Heart for Social Justice, AIR created original contemporary performance rituals that engage both lyrically and viscerally with the politics of identity, society, sexuality, collective rage, grief, spirituality, and healing. She practices Reiki and other healing modalities and is deeply engaged with the spiritual legacies and practices of the Filipina shaman priestess or Babia Lin. So, you and her topic of presentation today is surrendering to Deloy, living in unity consciousness. So, we are now going to share the video here that you have just sent to us. Just give me a second. And yes, something wrong on. What are you able to see here? Are you able to see this YouTube?
Only part.
Now is it okay now? Is it okay?
Yes.
Yes. So I'm going to play this, right?
I think the volume could be higher so that we hear it, because right now it's really low
Okay,
volume.
okay. वीडियो ऑफ नहीं हो पाएगा वॉल्यूम फुल करो आप सुनाई नहीं दे रहा है
Is that the highest volume? Because from my end, I still couldn't hear it.
Just a second. Are you able to hear this properly?
From my computer, no.
Just one second, because even I could find that the voice is certain some problem here. Just a second. I'll just share it once again. And
Daloy is a Tagalog word for flow. It is an embodied exploration for me, as someone who was a ballerina for many, many years and a modern and contemporary dancer, as someone who has devoted much of her young and young adult life to dancing and performing on stage, to winning awards, to winning competitions, to touring abroad, touring the whole of Philippines, only to serve an art form that is dance and serve my body for this art form. When I discovered Daloy as an embodied research in 2013, I realized I would like dance to be a healing practice. And I've had a first-hand experience of this myself. And it's something I have further developed to teaching to other people. How can I make dance accessible to all body types, all genders, all ages? How can I share dancing in a way that is not performative and guide bodies from socialized bodies to wise, intuitive, meditative bodies. In the beginning, I also had Daloy Dance Company, which is a performing contemporary dance company based in Manila, Philippines. And as a director and choreographer, Daloy had been not only the embodied research, but also philosophy and ideology that places improvisation at the heart of what we do and the stuff that we produce on stage, in galleries, at the Cultural Center of the Philippines, in different sites and stages all over the Philippines. But this pandemic had been a portal for me to finally realize that something is really shifting inside of me. And it had been so beautiful being given the Asian Cultural Council grant to support this work of Daloy movement, developing it as a healing practice, to be able to be connected to many NGOs, to many social workers, teachers, educators, universities, medical facilities, people, studios, dancers, thespians, non-dancers. It is such a privilege for me to be able to give this dance / creative / spiritual / healing practice to such diverse people from all walks of life. And to finally arrive here during the pandemic, lockdown, COVID year, a very transformative and healing year for the whole of Earth and the whole of humanity, for me to realize that my time as a performer and as a creator of performing bodies to be consumed and watched by an audience under the so-called art and so-called industry is done. Daloy right now is a movement for people from all walks of life, a chance for us to get by, get free, and get alive. This pandemic had called me to surrender to the flow of how I'm changing, how the company's changing, how this movement practice has been evolving for me, how to transpose it to Zoom, how to transpose it, as a practice that's effective for like 50 up to 90 people in the space before the lockdown, and at the same time in one-on-one encounters. But what do I mean when I say this practice is also the same thing that has led me into finding out and having a more embodied experience of the unity consciousness. Unity as in oneness. Unity as in coming together, as in solidarity, as in being the same, as in being of love or of light. Well, from my experiences of guiding many people through dancing by feeling the fire in their bodies, having a space for them to release chaotic, spontaneous, difficult emotions, and at the same time, the water element in their bodies, for them to flow and cleanse what no longer serves, and so that they could get back to a feeling of fresh water and fresh river running through them, to a feeling of air, a feeling of breathing, being anchored into one's breath, getting into the flow of just breathing, paghinga, pahinga, resting and breathing in Tagalog terms. Feeling the earth in their bodies, the earthiness of their bodies, that they're here and now, and that no matter what happens, the body is the home. No matter what we try to control externally, and especially during this season, us individually, and our social circles, and everything that we worked hard on putting up, us realizing how little control we really do have. I guess the deepest experience for me about this unity consciousness was whenever I guide the participants in the room about the experience of ether, as an element that is present in the body. Just getting to that space of inner spaciousness, grace, that feeling of there could be even more space whenever we try to be still, whenever we see that this limitedness of being caged in our rooms, in our homes, no longer being able to escape our real feelings, our real emotions, our real thoughts, and the ways in which we are changing as individuals and as humanity. No longer can we escape that by drinking outside, hanging out with friends, being in so many conversations, being responsive to so much work. Finally, through this pandemic, we were given this opportunity to be still, to shelter in our homes and also in our bodies. And I realized there could be much more space. And not only could there be much more space, but there is already so much space that we could just tune in, tap in, and turn on. In one of my workshops, I told them, let's feel the void. What is that feeling of the void in this stillness? It's probably that sensation of velvety black, all dark. And most of us are scared of the dark. But equally, the other side of that coin is so much freedom in that darkness. It's as if we're back to nothing again. And it's as if we're back at the 0 point field. We're back at the feeling of no pressure, no expectations, no obligations, no nothing. We could just really be. And in this space, we could let the feeling of our own skin dissolve, the feeling of our muscles dissolve, our bones, of our organs, ideas we have of ourselves, ideas of shoulds, like what we should be right now and what we should be doing and what the future must hold for us, or what could have been the past. But to be really so present that we face that void. And suddenly, with my students, I started to feel this pregnant emptiness. Because from this nothingness, there's a possibility of being everything all at once. There's a possibility of just truly being and being free. Whenever we get to this space in our workshops, we come to realize that when we are in this space, suddenly, I am you and you are me. I am everything around me. I'm connected to the sun, to the earth, to the soil, to the wind, to the waters. And as much as I get connected to everything that is within myself and I let them dissolve, I feel so connected to everything that is external. And I feel everything dissolve. And there's not fear in that space. There's just space. The labels fall off. And so does worries, so does expectations. And finally, I get the sense of this embodied state of feeling united. When me and my students reach that space, suddenly it's not theoretical that we want to harm another, or that we think in terms of good or bad, or that we think in terms of higher or lower, or we think in terms of I am so different than you. But instead, it's just a deeply felt and deeply sensed, embodied experience of being one with all that is inside and all that is externally outside. And feeling comfort in that. Feeling comfort that we are both nothing and everything all at once. from these realizations, I start now to realize, but why does it end? Why does the workshop end or the session end? And where do we pick ourselves up when we wake up the following morning after the workshop and laundry is there and bills are there and we see the latest bad news in social media, or we have the most annoying housemate? How can we stay in this unity consciousness as much as we could? How can I not beat myself up for no longer being a dance director or an artistic director or an artist who performs in galleries or does shows? How can I not beat myself up for no longer making the same amount of money as I used to, or have
Has it stopped? The
Yeah.
net is giving, yeah, there's some.
Well, anyway, well,
No, let us see.
yeah. Could we wait for it? Okay.
Yes.
Well, as we wait for it, I just want to give a little bit of a context. The Philippines before, pre-Hispanic time, before we were colonized for many, many years and eventually gained their independence as a country. We had really strong animist practices that were in deep connection with land, with water, with air, with fire, with our very natural resources. And this practice is a remembrance of that, a sensing and embodying of the five elements through movement, through intuitive and meditative movement. In the Philippines also, we have so many, of course, we have rich dance cultures, but one of the things that we highlight is moving together like a mob, like in a choreographed thing that we put on street festivals. And so we very much are very social, and we do what we're told, and we do what the authority or that figure of authority tells us to do. So a movement practice like this, wherein everybody's told to, actually you're just guided through verbal instructions, but you follow your intuition through and through, is something that's been an embodiment of liberation on a deeply personal level for us Filipinos and Filipinas. So just to give a little bit of a context of that. And maybe we could wait for the video. It's just last 3 minutes. I just took the liberty of recording it because I'm also afraid that my own internet will not be fast enough and might lag while I speak.
You can continue. I'm just trying to fix up that video in case it works. I mean, you can keep continue. Please keep talking.
Okay. All right. So, and going back to being guided through that feeling of quiet and space in the body, and having many moments of realizing that even though the session progressed and happened and ended, where we all moved so individually, intuitively on our own and in such different ways, that the ending always remains in that feeling of dissolution of the self, and much more oneness, and much more, I know, over time, a deeper sense of, from that deep sense of liberation comes, a deep sense of empathy that we are one and we are all. And at the same time, for me, during this pandemic, again, which is a portal for me to have been sheltered in, not have many students, and transpose the practice into a small frame of the Zoom, it was so interesting watching myself and also teaching eventually how to keep all the lessons that are within the workshop and transpose them into the living practice of being as present as I could while washing the dishes, being as present as I could when grief comes, or when I'm in a difficult conversation, and have a full sense of that space within the body, sense of agency and power, and yeah, come back and hone that feeling of you are me and I am you. And when the labels all fall off, we are one and the same. So that's it.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
yes. If we can continue, if you wish, we can continue with the video. Should I share it again? Let it finish.
Okay. All right.
All of you? Yes. Just a second.
To or having a very uncertain type of lifestyle. And then I remember that where my body is, that's where my home is. And that through Daloy, through flow, through this embodied research, embodied experience, this experience doesn't have to be limited in the Zoom room. This doesn't have to be limited on stage in the studio. That the dancing could be the living practice. That right where I am now, whether I'm moving my hands or I'm keeping them still, I know and I trust that I am part of the Daloy. And I'm doing my Daloy. And as much as I'm keeping true to being present in this moment, being present in my intentions, that I have nothing to prove to you, but I just have only something to share from where Daloy started for me and where it is now. I think of and I feel Daloy now as a space, as this fluidly boundaried space wherein healing could happen, wherein dancing could happen, wherein life could happen. And as I live more in this space, in a feeling of spaciousness, and a feeling of being united to everything around me and within me, I feel more that the real, truest Daloy practice leading to the embodiment of unity consciousness is answering and living through the questions. How can I be as present as possible in every waking moment of my life so that I could deeply feel that I'm not alone, I'm always connected, and we are always interconnected. I am the dancer and the dance. I am part of the whole. And whenever I'm in this space, I am you and you are me. And that I'm good. And that no matter what is happening around the globe, climate crisis, political unrest, everything and anything, I trust in the cosmos. I trust in this Daloy. I trust that in the grand scheme of things, it is all good. It is all good.
That was wonderful. That was awesome. In fact, your YouTube, you know why I wanted to continue with this. The reason being, just a second. Just a second, I'll have to, oh. Yes. You know, the reason I wanted to really continue with this was it really made me with you, yeah. It made us flow. It was so fluid. It took me away to that oneness which you really wanted to share. That was awesome. Wonderful. And the Zia said the same thing. Murtiji said the same thing, that it is whirling, it is dancing, that you go to nothingness, and from nothingness, when you said Why should this end? Really, why should it end? Why we can't always remain in that state of merging with everything around us? Absolutely fine. That was wonderful. That was absolutely good. Okay. Now, since we had one, Murtiji hasn't turned up, I think. He hasn't. Yes, he's not there. And so right now we have Ia, Zia, and Richard Sharp with us. So we'll go in for a panel discussion, but before that, again, we are going to have a slight musical interlude that we have made for all our, you know, people out here, the participants here. So just enjoy this song that I'm going to share now. Enjoy the song, and I'll be sharing this with you. Your certificate of appreciation from the World United, proudly presented to you for being an esteemed presenter in the third edition of the World Parliament on Spirituality 2020 Asia. Thank you so much for being with us. And